SNL stages office reunion and spoofs Fox News again. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills drama. Bill Maher sparks backlash over Stan Lee. Michelle Obama unplugged. Plus, CNN's Jim Acosta versus the White House. All this and more on Meet the Hollywood Press for November 18th, 2018. I'm Alina Vision, and now your host of Meet the Hollywood Press, Joseph Kapsch.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Meet the Hollywood Press. Welcome back, Alina Vision.
Thank you.
Please
Sunday
don't leave
fun
me.
day.
Sunday fun day. Please don't leave me ever again on Sunday.
Aww, I missed it when I'm gone.
I miss you, and I feel lost now. It was funny. The show initially started, as viewers know, with no co-host, and then Elena was like my muse and revelation from our executive producer, from Keven, when he suggested, and now I couldn't imagine doing the show without you.
Well, thank you.
Yes, but she's in demand, so
Yeah.
she had another job, so we get that.
It happens. It happens.
How's your weekend so far?
So far, so good.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out because my weekend has been spent, and I'm literally can't wait to get home to finish Homecoming with Julia Roberts on Amazon Fire.
Ooh, how is it?
My God, amazing. Amazing. I'm on like the 5th episode. There's 10 episodes, but big shout out to that because that's what I've been doing all weekend. It is amazing.
I'm glad
She's
you
amazing.
Made it here today.
Really.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Yeah, exactly. Without further ado, then let me welcome back to the show, Meet the Hollywood Press again, Bianca Della Garza.
Thanks for having me back.
She's Emmy-nominated host and beauty entrepreneur.
Yes.
Tell people about your brand.
So Bianca Della Garza Beauty, we just launched,
Yes.
and we are all about enhancing your inner glow that transcends to your outer glow, and it's really time to take beauty and make it for the people.
Yes.
And that's what, as someone who's spent their whole life on camera, understands sort of the narrative that needs to be rewritten and shifting more towards like global inclusivity and having women around the world just feel like, I don't need to cover up anymore.
And I mentioned the Emmy-nominated because we're going to be getting to SNL in a couple seconds. Mm-hmm. She had the unenviable task of competing against SNL for the show that you got nominated for, right?
Yes.
You were in the time slot against SNL for your own show, Bianca.
It was a late night talk show, and I was actually at the time the only woman in late night, so completely counterculture to what, counter programming to what SNL was doing. And we did receive some Emmy nominations, and I was able to beat them a few times, but it was a different cast then, so we're going to, talk about the amazing stuff SNL's doing now
we got
as
it.
well.
Well, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Joseph.
We also welcome Hunter Gaylor.
Yes. Good to be here.
And you have a fascinating job. And I should say, this is a Meet the Hollywood Press first because this is Bianca's boyfriend.
Oh,
and when I was booking the show, I was like, I need somebody interesting, because we like mixing it up. You have the most fascinating job. He's like,
My boyfriend? That is a fascinating job.
Yeah, it keeps things very interesting.
I mean, really.
I wouldn't call that a job.
I take pictures. I carry the phone. I'm an expert like purses. I've learned more purse brands than I've learned more purse brands than I've ever cared to know about.
You are an aviator. You have your own company where you book. You're like the entrepreneur's aviation guide to the stars. Like you book a
Absolutely.
He charters like a bunch of planes.
Bunch of celebrities, stars.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you name them. We've probably booked them and flown them and dealt with all their drama. So
which we're going to talk about momentarily, right?
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
names and everything.
A lot of glitter on these planes.
No
Things
problem.
get trashed, doors get broken. That's an NDA thing.
Always exciting.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And so without, we have so much to get to. It was funny, we're talking like, what story do you think you're going to cut? And I was like, well, we'll cut the dumbest one, right? And so it's like, I'm looking at the 5 topics that I picked, and it's like, they're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
okay,
juicy.
Let's get to it then. SNL, last night, Steve Carell returned to SNL for the first time in 10 years. I can't, where does time go?
So fast.
It was his 3rd hosting gig, but he hadn't been there in 10 years. So they did this really funny bit during his monologue where some of his office castmates returned. Let's just run the clip really fast. We'll come back and talk about it on the other end.
Yes. Hi, Steve.
Hi. Hi, Ellie Kemper. Wow. Hi.
Hi. People would really love to see an Office reboot. Because I need that money. Let's get that money, Steve.
I'm sorry, Ellie. I just don't think it's a good idea.
You're a jerk.
Okay.
Hey,
Steve. Hey.
It's so great to see you.
It's great to see you too.
Yeah, so I just don't think you understand how much money we're talking about.
Okay, coming
Like,
back
you
in
wouldn't have
from,
to do all those
from that
sad
on the other
movies
end.
anymore.
So, it continues on because then also Jenna Fisher, who played
Pam.
Yeah.
Did you watch? Now, were you all guys Office? Because I didn't actually.
Yeah, we watched it. Big
obsessed.
time.
You did. You were okay. So
Love
I'm glad
The
that
Office.
all three
Yeah.
of you do because
Yeah.
I didn't watch The Office. Like I caught like episodes here and there, and I do like the whole Jim and Pam story,
Right.
but I didn't watch it. I wasn't a
you
regular.
need to.
Dwight. Oh, I mean, there's so many iconic
Okay.
moments
Yeah.
as this show has provided
Andy?
us.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So anyway, it continues on that basically, obviously, we're in the era of reboots, and so they're all asking about the reboot. It even goes on to show his wife and his kids. And
Saying, like,
who,
do
by
it.
the way,
Yeah,
his
do
kid
it.
was like
Yeah.
a mini Steve,
Yeah.
a mini me, Steve Carell in the audience. Suffice to say, they tried to trick you that he was gonna. Oh, I'm announcing a great show tonight. What did you think?
So first of all, I would love an Office reboot because
Yeah.
I think the show was so brilliantly done, and just the pacing of it. I mean, it's hard to find television that really stands out, and actually
Yeah.
you can watch all these years later and be like, that was a great episode. But the funny thing is, when I was watching this and I was seeing all the cast members, I'm thinking, it's not that far from the truth, right? Like SNL is spoofing it, but some of them are probably like, we want the money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
like,
and Steve is a big star. I love Steve, but he's
Yeah.
in control of it, and everyone else is like, please, Steve. I didn't think
Yeah.
it was that far from the truth.
Well, and a lot of them are typecast. They know him from The Office, and that's it. I
Yes.
mean,
Right.
and very few of them have been. I mean, some of them have gone on, the bigger screen,
Right, John
to
Krasinski.
success. And
Right.
John's on the new show, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, great show.
Yeah,
it's a
that's a
great
really
show.
good show.
It is a good show.
But I think for a lot of them, you're right. They're like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, the funny thing is when they said if we do the Office reboot, you won't have to make all those sad movies, right?
Right. Which is so true.
It's so true. But Steve Carell, to me, and I want to know if you agree with this. I feel like he suffers from that same thing that Jim Carrey. Like Jim Carrey, I feel like spent his whole career trying to show his dramatic acting chops, and which he has.
Right.
But he was always typecast into like the movies that would really perform well. He'd get some critical acclaim and buzz. Steve Carell to me is like on the hunt for that like dramatic Oscar.
Well,
like to me, I mean, is that wrong? Is that wrong?
No, I don't think it's wrong, and I think it's going to be interesting because he was just cast in the Reese Witherspoon show that he'll be doing the morning news
And
show.
Jennifer Aniston.
I am so
Yeah.
excited about that project as a
Yes.
morning news anchor. I want
Yes.
to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how Steve takes on that role. I think he's a very dynamic actor, and I agree he's kind of looking for something a little bit,
I feel like he
Right.
hasn't reached that point
Hey.
though where when you're ready to embrace like what made you famous. Like how you have like these stars like where Kelly Clarkson is now at the point where she recognizes American Idol being her star, but there was that period of time. To me, Steve Carell's not ready to do a reboot for that because he's still
No.
trying to accomplish some other things.
Yeah, I don't think he'll come around to do it. I was like you. I totally wanted an Office reboot. I have watched The Office. This is a little confessional right here. Every night for the past 10 years, with the exception of a week when I was on safari in Africa.
Oh my God.
My husband and I are obsessed with the show. It's what we fall asleep to every night. I can quote it. Like,
Wait, so
nobody's
do you watch it
business.
now
Yeah.
on streaming networks?
Yeah, I watch
Okay, so
it.
you
We watch it on Netflix.
Wait,
Netflix.
every
Yeah.
night for the past how many years?
9 years.
Wow.
Alina,
You're
I
like
love
his
that.
number one
That's
fan.
That's commitment.
That
That's
is.
commitment.
It is. It's a little
And I
confession
don't know if
of
that's
mine.
commitment to your husband and relationship or commitment to the show. So,
Both. Every once in a while, we're like,
That's
let's take a
commitment.
break, watch some Parks and Rec, but then we always just change it back. It's really easy to fall asleep. Even though it's a great
Yeah.
show, it's easy to fall asleep to because there's no laugh track or anything.
No, exactly.
But with that being said, I always wanted an Office reboot because I missed when Steve Carell left the show. I think it kind of had a slump, and then in the last couple of seasons, it got a little bit better. But I read an interview with him where he said the Office reboot wouldn't work in this now kind of Me Too movement because of the jokes that were made during the original. So the jokes would have to be a little bit probably different.
But that's what I heard.
Yeah.
I know the article you're talking about where he basically said he doesn't want to do it because he can't say the same things
Right.
that he could say on the old, which is kind of true.
It is.
But everything, though. I mean, really, with
That's
everything.
true.
So everything's sort of through a new lens now in this era. But he's great. I think.
Yeah.
You're right, though. He probably doesn't want to admit. I mean, who really wants to say, like, I already peaked?
I
Like that,
already
no one's like
peaked.
going to be
Right.
like, I'm never
No.
going to be better. I mean,
Yeah.
and we want to, as artists, as creators, as content creators, as
Yeah.
people who are in the cultural zeitgeist, if you will, we always want to think we have another play.
Right, and you
Right.
want to change and evolve too as an artist.
May never, though.
Right.
But
Yeah.
And he did it for a very long time.
Yeah, he
and
did.
so, there's the whole shadow of Ricky Gervais and all that stuff that's gone on, and it's been entertaining. But, even now, they want to go flex their acting chops and their talent to say,
Yeah.
look, we can do Broadway, we can do shows,
We can do
movies,
more.
we can do more.
what about a 30-Year-Old Virgin remake or part 2 or something?
The 40-year-old
40-year-old
virgin,
virgin,
again,
yeah.
and again, I've never gotten through that entire movie because to me, as a gay, proud gay man, I find it to be like bro humor. It wasn't for me. Like, I didn't get it. No, I
Right.
got it, but I got it. I take it. I got
On the
it.
record, he is not a virgin.
But I live with a bunch of straight like housemates, and it's like they are always like, "Oh, dude, it's the funniest, bro, it's the funniest movie," and I'm like, I can't get through it.
He was good at it.
I can't.
Not
it's
your cup of tea.
Not
All
my
right.
cup of
Right.
tea. Anyway, okay.
There he
So
is.
before we
There
move
he
on
is.
from SNL, the other part is the cold. Oh my God, are we not living for Kate McKinnon as Laura Ingraham?
Living for her.
Okay, and then also Cicely Strong as Judge Janine Pirro. So I want to run a little clip of that because they are literally eviscerating Fox every week. But let's run this clip and then talk about this for a second.
Dismiss that idea simply because it isn't true and sounds insane. In fact, let's add that to our list of feel facts, which aren't technically facts, but they just feel true. Like, Latinos can have a baby every 3 months. Santa is Jesus' dad. If the earth is so warm, then why are my feet cold? Blackface is a compliment. If you have less than 5 guns, you're gay. Now, here to explain how rampant this voter fraud has gotten is Pulitzer Prize eligible Judge Janine Pirro.
I hate them, Laura. Sorry, that's my vocal warm-up.
Judge,
Okay,
now what
come back.
specific examples of voter fraud have you...
Okay, so the feel facts is like, that's my new thing, feel facts. Like, I'm
Right.
just going to use that when anything. It's feel facts because it's like the Trump administration, in my opinion, uses feel facts.
Oh, completely.
What do you think, Alina, of these? Because this is like, they've been taking Fox News on like repetitively.
Right, and it kind of makes me think like, what took them so long to do this every week? Because it
Yes.
is just parody completely every
Yes.
time you watch Fox News. So I love the fact that they're bringing in all these characters and making caricatures of them on the show. Yeah, I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. But what did you think?
First of all, another like Kate McKinnon is like so invaluable to this cast.
Yeah.
And, she's definitely like one of their, centerpieces. I like it as a former newscaster, of course. I'm always in on the joke if they're, spoofing Fox or if they're spoofing MSNBC because
Right.
it became
Yeah.
to the point when I was reading the news that I was like, I feel like a caricature and I'm in this dress and I'm in this hair bob and it is very like,
Yeah.
this sort of role you're playing. So
Yeah.
I like that, SNL will take that on. I think that, the bottom line in a situation like this is like you have to get to like the people and what's happening politically and really push the envelope, and that's exactly what SNL is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And they're doing it every week, and it feels very fresh when they do it, and it
Yes.
feels like it's people want to talk about this and they want to laugh about it.
Yeah.
No matter what side you are on politically, it's like we have to talk about things that almost are so surreal anyway happening in our culture. It's
Right.
the perfect show to kind of have that discourse and have that sort of tumble, I think, with the actors.
I got nervous at the Latinas having a kid every 3 months. I'm like, Bianca, we
I am Mexican. My dad's from Monterrey. We cannot have a baby every 3 months.
oh
Hunter.
my goodness.
I know. Irish twins, maybe, because my mom is Irish. So now
roll
we
another
can
clip
do.
on this one, or-
That we can do. The Irish twins.
Hunter, you've got jokes, so I want to ask you
Yeah, there we go.
with the comedy in this
Yeah.
in these skits though. Do you think, from a political standpoint, like, because I feel like SNL will take on Emmett. They will take on, like, even when Obama was in office, they parodied Obama. They obviously didn't do it to the point that they do Trump or when they did Sarah Palin with Tina Fey. Do you think, though, for the conservative base in the country, that they're not really, like, this is completely playing to just, like, a liberal progressive kind of viewer?
It's SNL.
Yeah.
I mean, it's SNL. It's pure entertainment. And I think the average conservative out there knows that, and it's just fodder for them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's kind of sad because there's not a lot of stuff to make fun of on the liberal side.
Yes.
It's kind of dry. But as we know, Trump has just funded this entire thing with just so much personality. There's plenty of things to talk about.
That's a way to call it,
right?
Personality.
Personality, right? I mean, you know, so it's entertaining. I mean, that's what it is at the end of the day. It's entertaining.
I want to know what your vocal warm-up is, though, before you come on every week.
I don't have one. You put me on the spot.
I loved that, though.
I did that. I hate them. Oh my God!
I have to say though, the Laura Ingraham side, the way that she was able to do that is just spot on. Because as someone that studied politics, went to school for it, I've met half of these commentators, I've interacted with a lot of them, and it's just like when Tina Fey did Sarah Pitt, it was like spot on.
Yeah, it was
spot on.
It was a hype. Well, I still do that line when Tina Fey parodied
I can see Russia from my house.
Yeah, but then she also did
the hopey changey stuff.
Yes. Do you get adorably cute? I don't know. Do I? Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
That's great stuff. Okay, so moving on from SNL to Bill Maher. So Bill Maher on Friday night. I'm sorry. I take that back. In a blog post, okay, he wrote a blog post about Stan Lee. And let me bring up the quote really fast. Or Delina, do you have it by chance?
I can if you keep talking in a second.
Was it a blog post or on Twitter?
It was a blog post.
No, he wrote a blog post. Stan Lee, obviously, passed away this week. And by the way, every celebrity that's ever met him, for some reason, there was like I've never seen so many fanboy and fangirl types of pictures that were put up where it was like them and Stan Lee, like that person, Stan Lee, and they were all paying homage to Stan Lee.
He meant a lot to a lot of people.
Yes, and especially to the comic. So Bill Maher wrote this blog post. Go ahead.
Right, so this is what he said. The guy who created Spider-Man and the Hulk has died, and America is in mourning. Deep, deep mourning for a man who inspired millions to, I don't know, watch a movie, I guess. They pretended comic books were actually sophisticated literature. I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks comic books are important.
So basically, all of like the comic book fans and then even like the journalists that cover superhero and comic books started to come out and pile on him and basically, thought it was disrespectful. But because there was another part of the quote where he basically said, "Oh, great, it gives like." Adult men like an excuse to carry their child. Like, it's time to get big boy books without pictures, okay? I know I may be in the minority on this, but I think I've made no secret of like that I'm not a superhero guy kind of movie. Like Black Panther was like the first superhero movie in a long time I went to go see, and I loved it. But it's like hence to say that I kind of get what Bill Maher was saying, because I do find it to be like with like infant baby men, like, oh, superhero. Like, I don't get it personally, because it's like I feel like I'm an adult. Like, I don't think superheroes are appealing to me. But what are your...
I think the thing is, it's like, okay, so comic book's not your thing. I think a lot of people are being reintroduced to sort of this genre in the past 5 years. We've seen it sort of explode as far as, what's going to be the big box office draw. I think, frankly, Bill Maher has a huge platform, and I'm just kind of confused to why he would, after, his passing this week, choose to talk about that, and this is mean-spirited. And I wonder, maybe comic books don't mean a lot to him, but we could say the same thing. Are we going to say that Walt Disney wasn't a visionary? Are we going to say Jim Henson wasn't a visionary? I mean, these people created things like the Muppets and Disneyland, so maybe these are childlike things, but they give people some sense of enjoyment.
J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter.
Exactly.
Right. It's just tons of...
Why? I just don't know why he has to, it's just vitriol. And I don't really support that. I'm a very compassionate human being.
Yeah.
And I like to say, you know what? Maybe I'm not reading a bunch of comic books, but he was in his own right. It will be a legend and an icon for what that genre stands. Let's just be respectful to the dead.
It was kind of like too soon kind of thing. Like it was kind
what
of
do you
odd
win by doing it?
That there must have been something. Bill Maher strikes me as the type of guy, just like a lot of journalists, that are looking around the internet, and something must have annoyed him, like about something that was being gushed upon. Because you just don't, like, that's how I would get ideas to write things. I'd be like, ugh, like someone be like taking something, and you'd be like, we need to do a story like that's a counterintuitive.
I don't want to get on your bad side.
No, but as an editor, you sort of are looking for the counterintuitive viewpoint, or you're looking for something that's gonna tell like you don't want to just oh, let's be another like BJ blowjob article to Stanley. You kind of want to.
Sure.
So I think he was being contrarian to a degree. Like, but go ahead. You were about to say
I can totally see that side of it as well. If you were to look at it apolitically.
Yes.
But I still think, and this is just my personal kind of feeling towards it, is in a death, especially someone that's had such an impact in society.
Yeah.
Just wait. If you're gonna do anything, just wait.
Exactly.
Better to remain silent and then have cocktail talk as opposed to really coming out and using his platform to do that. Because even because I can understand the grown up argument of like, oh, we don't want to watch guys run around in tights, but I mean at the end of the day,
I do. I'm sorry. Some of these guys. Thor,
Right.
hello.
Yes.
So all right, I'm right here. So yeah, I can't compete with
My superhero. You're my superhero.
So,
Good recovery.
but at the end of the day, looking into the actual stories that he wrote, Stan Lee even came out in many interviews, and he says that he always created characters that were relatable to someone, right? Whether it was Spider-Man with the being bullied or something like that, and that's a huge testament to us as a culture of Americans, that not just necessarily a Trump era or anything like that. There's some inspiration there. People can say, okay, I can get.
Which had never been done before.
Hadn't been done.
So the fact that you just explained that very eloquently and in layman's terms for me, like as an ADD person to understand, that's probably been the first time that almost gave me some like sensical point of view of like what the appeal would be for superheroes for adults. So thank you.
Yeah,
no, I'm being completely serious.
Right. What he did, he humanized these people.
There's something there's and it could also relate back to like the adult men that grow up that maybe were picked on. There's something inspirational to see in these characters.
And they want to take their kids to it. They want to dress them up as in Halloween or something like that.
And
There's a
art
sense
is art.
of
Like, who's
relation.
he to say that somebody who likes this type of art is,
that's what if it's not your thing, it's okay.
not
but
your
why?
thing.
Why? It was millions of people's things.
Exactly.
So let it be.
I
So
actually
then
have an interesting tweet I
Go
want to
ahead.
pull up.
Yeah.
This is from Kaya Jones, so if we can get that up. And she made a really interesting point. She said, okay, Bill Maher, why talk smack about Stan Lee? You had no problem taking that check and appearing in Iron Man 3. Just saying.
Ooh, yeah.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess the thing about when I read it in its entirety and I saw where he was it was kind of similar to say Chelsea Handler wanted to hang Trump on the back of the Kardashians when she was still on E. Remember that whole thing? The Kardashians brought us Trump. It was almost like he was saying people worshiping like comic book adults brought us Trump. Like I think he was trying to be like bring it back to Trump, and it just fell. It was bad.
You're not always going to knock it out of the park. Listen, but the thing is, the public remembers, and there's something called the internet, and it never goes away. So if you are like this woman's calling out, you taking money, and then saying this, just be prepared to whatever you say your comments to have to either support them or say, I'm sorry, mea culpa, like I was wrong. And sometimes you do get it wrong. I mean, journalism isn't an exact science. I mean, people definitely, as commentators, push the envelope. But in this case, I just felt it was mean-spirited.
So then the three of you think that he deserved the pile-on that he got. I guess, like, I think just as a non-superhero fan coming into this, I was like, oh, I could see what he's saying. But then listening to the three of you now, I'm like, okay, I get it. So thanks for making me
We've converted him.
a different point of view.
I see a cape and tights in Joseph's future here. Next Halloween.
All right, so moving on to more high intellectual fare. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. No, so Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I love me some Real Housewives. I don't know, are you a fan? Do you watch?
Sometimes.
I've watched over the years.
Sometimes. I like Atlanta.
So Lisa Vanderpump of the Beverly Hills edition, obviously I think it's fair to say she's been like the star of that show, you know. So it's like there's always one, like Bethany on New York, that basically carries the show. So this week reports surfaced that not just reports, pictures on Instagram, because they're on their like France trip. They always take like one trip for every season, and she was visibly absent from all the photos on Instagram, and all the girls are Instagramming. So then a report surfaced on one of the gossip breaks that she was leaving, or that like for this current season that they're filming, she literally like stopped filming. Like she hadn't, and when they were filming her, she's been filmed by herself doing her own little dog charity things and like her restaurant stuff, and she's still doing. So the big question is she done and not coming back for season 9? What is whoever wants to take this, Bianca, why don't you take this to start? Like, in other words, what do you think about this? Because it's interesting to me. We know that these kind of stories get planted when you sort of want something out there. Her thing was her tweet was let's focus on the things that are important right now, which was about the fires, which I agree with.
Yes.
But also, at the same token, you're not filming. You're absent from the trip. All signed. What do you think?
So when I taped my syndicated show, I taped it in New York in the same studio to Watch What Happens Live. So we always had the Housewives in. Andy Cohen was there. I mean, so I've known this genre and these women, and I think it's a win-win either way for the franchise.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll really ever know if she really wants to quit and she's being kept on by contractual obligations.
Yeah.
I think this is if I was her, I probably would be a little tired. She's always at the restaurants. I mean, we live here in LA.
Yeah.
You see her at the restaurants. I mean, there is a sense, I
the
think.
other show
of-
that she
yes.
has with the
Vanderpump
restaurants.
Rules,
So I
which,
think-
by the way, I love that show.
Yeah,
That's a
so
better
I mean,
show.
there's a sense I think if some of these rumors don't start in a vacuum, there might be some of this. But I also think for her to not, there have also been some other things saying she wasn't invited to some of these, that she doesn't feel like the other women are reaching out to her. Which again, it's a win-win for the Housewives because then it's more drama between the women. Like no way can Bravo lose in this situation.
Yeah.
But I think if she's slowly trying to extricate herself, which she might be,
Yeah.
she's not going to talk about it. Which she did. She said
Yeah.
no, it's not true. Her lawyers
Yes.
are probably like, And I think B, I don't think the franchise it really isn't even an issue for them because they're like, we're talking about it. All the press are
Right.
talking about it. It gets more eyeballs on the show.
Well, because I personally will be upset because she's my favorite on the show. Like, I actually would find it to be really weird without Lisa Vanderpump on The Real Housewives.
The thing about the Housewives is there's supposed to be this sort of cattiness about
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how it all exists. So the fact that this is just playing out where she may want to go and not want to go, and then fans will be behind her. It'll be like Camp Lisa.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what they live for this. So for me personally, I think we don't really know the truth, and we won't for some time.
The only thing that falls flat for me, though, in all of this is when you're on a reality show and then your business just got built on the back of the reality show, right? Like
Successful businesses,
and
many
then
of
you're
these
going to
women.
be like, oh, but just focus on the important things like the dogs, and then it's like you're on a reality show, so it's like
Right.
you sort of still have to answer to this at some point. So that's what it's easy to get above the fray, but it's like. But you chose to be on Real Housewives
how long
of
did you
Beverly
owe
Hills.
your life to it? That's what I'm saying. Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of these women, Bethany built Skinny Girl because of it, and you can
Yes.
never take it away. Like the show made them instant celebrities, worldwide names.
Yes.
But at some point, aren't we allowed as humans to say, you know what, I'm just kind of done with this and I want to do something else?
And
So
I
it's like,
totally agree with
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But
not yet, because Joseph likes her.
Right.
It's not even about liking her. No, it's not
your
even
favorite
about
on the
liking her.
show.
It's about more the what they find though is more often than not when they do decide to step down. Their lack of visibility on television, which she won't have because she'll still have Vanderpump, though, it affects their business. Because Bethany, I think, solely came back to New York Times because then it was like she wanted to push her brands more.
Yes.
Like when you're not, they think all of a sudden, oh, my business is doing well, I'm making millions, and then they take the TV element out and your face is
It's a
not being
gamble.
seen. You're not your business.
It's the only reason why companies like the Wahlburgers,
Yes.
their burger joint, they got a reality show that was for the sole purpose of pushing out their restaurant chain.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they're just opening franchise after franchise after franchise. It's the same thing with these. You're absolutely right in that. It plays a huge role that when you're on television, you have, things that you can push and you're more relevant.
She may
You're
not
more
care,
relevant.
though. She may just be tired of it. I don't know. I don't
you
think
don't know.
we know.
Also,
Yeah.
they just announced that she's opening something in Vegas. So, like, she's expanding her restaurant business from out here, whether it was Sir or the other one.
Pump.
Something's opening in Vegas. So it's like she's got a lot, and she's
And remember,
really,
her husband is a restaurateur. They came from the
Right.
UK, and this is their business.
Exactly.
So,
We
I
actually
wouldn't be
had-
surprised if she keeps utilizing that to expand.
and she's not leaving Vanderpump Rules. So it's like she still
Right.
has a platform, like
We
on
actually
Bravo.
have a tweet from her in response
Oh,
to
go ahead,
this.
okay.
Yeah, she says, if you hear it from me, it has to be true. Until then, not so much.
So then basically
Yeah.
she has gone on record so far saying that she's not leaving.
Right.
But is it because she wants to and can't? We don't know.
But let
that's
me
what I'm
ask you
saying.
this question. If she continues on the show but is basically like in a vacuum, not interacting, would you even want that? I'd be like, she should leave
So
the show.
contrived, right.
The
Right.
whole idea is
It's
that
to see them
the
interact
interact and the drama
drama,
and the
yes.
catty. Let's face it, we want that. Like,
but maybe that's like the season finale where we get them all in the room, and it's like now they're gonna have it out, and like you abandoned us, Lisa.
Exactly.
Why don't you love us, or not? You know,
Because
maybe
like,
there's some shrink
twist.
session.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Is she going to be on satellite to film the reunion?
know.
Like all the 5 women will be in one room. Lisa will be like on a
satellite.
screen, like on satellite for the reunion. I mean, like how do you?
And their trips are really fun. Those are fun episodes to watch.
They
I
are.
mean,
Yeah.
You know.
But to me, it's like it looked like again like a girls' trip that they were all having fun. But the whole point in those franchises, the trips are supposed to be the big climax of the
Yeah.
drama.
Right.
Blank and blank went at it, and it's like to me, it's I don't know. They look like they're having a good old time. So for me, from a reality TV standpoint, for what it is, I want to see the drama.
Does she still hang out with the Housewives if she's no longer part of the Housewives?
Not, I don't think
I
so.
don't thi-
Not
yeah.
really. No.
No?
I mean,
No.
Kyle's like her only legitimate friend that was sort of like Kyle Richards
Right.
before. Like that was actually and Dorit. But then Dorit's kind of like I think turned on her. You know that story, right?
I don't know.
Dorit-
You don't
know,
really
right?
know. They're not to you.
I have no idea about
Dorit,
that.
this is another, Dorit adopted a dog over while the show was not filming from these Vanderpump dogs. The dog was brought home and nipped at one of
That's
her little
right.
babies. But then Dorit supposedly like brought it to a shelter, like not Lisa's shelter, and brought it back. They tried to squash it on record that like no, it didn't cause tension, but the sources are saying that yes, that was a big like rift in their friendship. She like got a dog from them,
Yeah, right,
and then
right.
returned it to a different shelter, so allegedly.
Yeah, and then when you have a dog and you have a child and the dog bites your child.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
I
is
can't
completely
keep your
understandable.
dog if there's a danger with your child. But also, this is kind of like Sex in the City, right? And Kim Cattrall and what's happening
Yeah.
there. And so it's like it's not just the Housewives. It's like when you're a part of a franchise show. I mean, this is sort of
Yeah.
growing pains, and where does it go? And sometimes it gets a little ugly.
It does. It does. Okay, so moving on from there. Next up, why am I forgetting? It was either CNN's Jim Acosta.
Jim.
Let's talk
Let's
Jim.
talk Jim.
So,
Let's talk.
oh my God.
Not the Office, Jim.
No.
Talk about breaking the third wall on Meet the Hollywood Press. As you can tell, we don't have a teleprompter, so I just like to say
Who
we do
needs a
this.
teleprompter?
We do this
Exactly.
off the top of our heads, but if
We'll do
those
it live.
But if that whole polished look of a show, like, hey, I am Pat O'Brien, if that was so people wanted that, then those shows wouldn't be like in
No,
trouble right now.
You're very fresh.
So
every week,
we're
I
fine.
love
We're
it.
having a conversation. Yeah, we didn't remember everything. So
What's
anyway,
today? When that-
Yeah, exactly. This week, basically, Jim Acosta, as you know, there was that scuffle during that, oh my God, that horrendous, unhinged white press conference with Trump when he was just basically attacking
Bananas,
like, anyone he could. April Ryan, mostly African-American reporters, but then, of course, the ongoing war between CNN's Jim Acosta and Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Trump. Well, when Jim was asking his questions, they sent an intern over to take the microphone, and then subsequently he still, he kind of like kept the microphone to himself, and then subsequently like sped up video from like InfoWars got like retweeted by the White House, and so the story basically was that they put out video, they claimed that he put his hands on the female intern, which he did not, okay? They pulled his press pass. CNN sued. This week they went to court. CNN won small victory because they did restore his pass, but it was that they didn't rule on the amendment about like overall, like in a broad sense, so that this is not over yet. But what the court ruled is that the White House, though, needs to establish rules and regulations around this moving forward. So it's kind of like a catch-22. I more want to focus on what this actually means, because to me it's like dangerous territory in the way that this rule, like, yes, short victory for CNN that he got his pass back, but now what are these rules going to be? Because now they're using the word decorum in the White House.
Right.
For Trump to even use the word decorum is like, that's nuts to me on its face. But what's your first impression?
And I know you've been on the campaign trail with a lot of politicians, so Hunter will have an interesting take on this. For me personally, I've covered politics for almost 20 years. I worked in state capitals. I worked in Albany, New York, and covered Governor George Pataki and Hillary Clinton when she was running for state Senate there. And so I've been sort of in Beacon Hill and in Boston. So I've been really in the crush of reporters, and sometimes it is you're trying to get your question, but also when you're, I have not been, in the White House gallery, but I have to tell you, you don't usually, and I watched the whole thing very, just to say, what is this controversy here? In this setting, you are really, as a reporter, lucky if you get one question and a follow-up. And I watched it, and I felt like I was uncomfortable watching it as a former reporter because every other reporter's like, okay, you asked your question. I didn't think it was as hostile as I thought it would be. It's really interesting. I thought, oh, this is going to be so ugly to watch. And when I watched it, I was like, okay, it's uncomfortable. The president's having this spar, and he's telling this guy things. But what happened is he did say, I want to challenge you about the caravan.
He didn't start out with a question.
And then Trump answered, and then he said, I have another follow-up, and Trump was like, no, but then obviously he wasn't getting the microphone away, and the reporter's like, oh my God, what's happening? And then he said, and I want to ask you about Russia, and he answered. So he did get 2 questions. If we really want to look at this, and not even, politics aside, he's a reporter, there's a bunch of reporters there, he got his questions in. What I think where things went off the rails is I think it should have just been an ugly, heated moment in a press conference, and then I don't think that Trump should have then that day taken his press pass away, because no matter how you slice it, it just perpetuates this divisive commentary, and it saddens me. It breaks my heart as someone who was a journalist, who is a storyteller, to see the current state of affairs for journalism. We need a free press, and I'm not saying that but I don't want to build this as this is the most historic moment in a press. It's really not.
But there is him calling the media enemy of the people.
He's been doing that for
years.
That
is a historic.
But this one moment here, people are saying that this press pass thing is this one. I'm talking about this one thing. They're saying this is a historic moment now with CNN suing, and what's this new thing? No. It's been building up for a while. What I'm saying is, let's just let the nastiness unfold in there, and then don't continue it. I guess after you're in the ring. There's a tussle. You don't go out after the ring and take a sucker punch. Okay, just let it go. You were pissed at Acosta and whatever, and he ruffled your feathers, and Acosta, didn't want to hand the microphone back. But let's just end it there and let him come back the next day and see how it goes the next day. I mean, it's just it doesn't make any sense to me, because then it causes another story that doesn't focus Americans on what the real news is of the day. We are so distracted by this, and it's like journalism should be about things and topics that matter to people, and we've become this sideshow here of just watching this, and it's just sad to me. It really breaks my heart. That's where I think things were wrong.
Yeah. And see, you're a rational person, so that's how rational you are.
I try to be. Am I a rational person, Hunter?
Yes.
I am going to drink this afterwards.
But I'm a trained journalist, and I understand there are. So now they're going to have rules, and let's see if this changes something. I don't know what they're going to be.
What are the rules going to be?
I mean,
you're allowed to ask a question, a follow-up question, and when you're called on once, and I do think that there has to be.
But here's the thing: sometimes Trump doesn't let them get the question out. They start the sentence, and then he jumps in like he's answering a question, but there's no question.
Oh, I agree.
Still. Yeah.
No, but you're dealing with, who you're dealing with,
right?
And question the source. And life isn't always fair. We're dealing with someone who isn't really going to sit there and play this game. But you could go back to Ronald Reagan and Sam Donaldson. The press and the president have always had these little tussles. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
He doesn't get
How
that,
can you establish? How can you be Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Trump talking about decorum? And the way Trump said to Abby Phillips, who's a smart journalist from CNN, when she asked, she was asking about the new appointed AG when he was in the gaggle of reporters, and literally looked at her when she asked a question about Russia and said, "What a stupid question. That's a stupid question."
Yeah, and that's a horrible thing for the president to say. It's degrading. Of course.
So it's like you cannot say, him and Sarah cannot say, you need to respect the president. Right. You need to come in here with decorum. And he gets to speak to everybody how he wants to speak to people.
You ever have a boss you don't like, though, and the boss is so, ignorant?
I've been that boss.
Yes, okay. And you're like, I wish I could tell that boss just to go stick it, but you know what? You got to do your job, and you're a journalist. You're like, I know he's not going to give me a rational answer, but I got to find a way to outsmart it, to navigate it, because I am here to represent the people, not to win an ego pissing match.
I think there's two things of this particular Jim Acosta takeaway. One is the big thing out there was the constitutionality of rejecting or getting rid of a White House pass, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't we're getting rid of CNN's White House pass. We're getting rid of Jim Acosta's White House pass for whatever reasons.
Well, they just dislike his reporting because he tells
and so,
he
which
reports
is fine.
truth.
But the White House, constitutionally speaking, blocking his pass isn't unconstitutional, right? They can do that. They have the right to do that.
The court did say that. Yeah.
They have. What rules they put in after, that remains to be seen. But I think when you look at it, as you keenly pointed out, Ronald Reagan had these same type of issues. Bush had these same type of issues. Obama had a lot of stuff with press back and forth as well, with both conservative and liberal reporters, if you will. But I think the other main issue, too, is, we have to just establish the fact that, Trump and the way that he acts is not what the average person would say as a level of decorum or prestige or presidential, as they say, right?
No.
It's not eloquent, it's not polite, it's not how you would raise your kids or tell you how to you respect people, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the big problem. So until society kind of pivots a little bit and says, look, we need to just take a step back before we address people, before we speak to people, always treat people the way you want to be treated. Do I think Trump does that? No. Do I think a lot of people don't do that? Yes. Right? I think, but at the end of the day, that's me. I could probably run for office and I would say something.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to, it starts with the individual. So we may not like what's going on, but I think that should just be an encouragement to us to say, look, how do I treat people? And see how it goes from there.
It's so much easier being kind.
Right.
Don't get me
It
wrong.
is.
It takes less energy in life. But the thing that I have real problems with, though, it's not just how he speaks. It is the who he tends to take aim at. And more often than not, it's an African American or a female or both. It's the
But
who
we don't have
he's-
any choice.
It's like
Yeah.
who's
No.
constant under attack from him. It's just, and to me, it's like showing. What is that Maya Angelou famous quote? Show me who you are.
Believe
when
who
you
they
show me
are
who you are, believe them the first time.
Right.
His first instinct preys on every negative thing that he hates the press says about him, but his actions support all of those
And listen,
assumptions.
if we really want to get into it, I mean, the bottom line is when he was running for president, CNN covered his rallies wall to wall for hours and hours. And a lot of people say the reason he got the nomination was because of CNN. So what I find so amazing in all of this, if I really step back and say, at one point they were his biggest champion when they were covering him wall to wall. Now this has disintegrated into this fight. So I don't know what's next. And it's like he can hate the press and the press can hate him. But ultimately, what I think
The
about
fake
as
news media.
what I think about is I'm a citizen of the United States, and I still think this is the best country to live in. And it's unfortunate right now that we have to read headlines about this and not really about things that are helping our country and putting people back to work and giving people hope for the future. So the bottom line is, you know what you said, but we have to deal with him. He is in this position, and reporters have to go to work every day and go, how am I going to get a question? How am I going to
There's
navigate
a lot of negative
this?
news. There's a lot of negative news.
but
It's all a distraction, though.
But
like
you
the
could be
thing about
just,
this.
but you could be a White House reporter in this day and age, and you're just reporting their actions and his words. That's the truth. Yeah, it's negative, but it's like he's bringing on that news.
Right.
They're literally reporting what this man says.
But I
at
said,
press
but I said it was
conferences.
perpetuated by the fact when they revoked his press credentials, then that became the story. And does that really impact anyone living in, the country? I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, it should have just been. It wasn't that heated. I've seen him do much worse. I really have. I watched it. I was like, okay, this was like a little bit uncomfortable. But I've seen Trump definitely be harder on
because
on
I feel like
reporters.
our threshold for what you're desensitized to is grown. Like
Right.
it's now we're going on 2 years of this. Some of the stuff that I would have been outraged about like 2 years ago, I now just go, oh.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you've been a reporter or editor for years. There's just people out there who are ignorant. And you have to, interview them and, just understand.
Oh, I live for the
this is the
opposition
source.
interview. No, I live for it.
You know the source. And if he was sitting down one-on-one on Trump, he could have sat there and really jarred and sparred with him. It just wasn't the right time that day to keep going. Want more questions? I mean, it got to the point where it's like, okay, so everyone's here. I think he took like 16 questions from like 36 reporters or 16 outlets. But at the same time, everyone's like, okay, we're ready. Everyone has something to ask the president.
Poor April Ryan, though. He said, I didn't call on you. I didn't call on you. Sit down. He's mean.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, but you know what?
Well,
what are they going to do? Not go to work and not go to the press conference?
What's interesting is when you watch the whole thing, and then after the Jim Acosta, the next reporter that asked it tries to defend Jim Acosta, and
Peter
then Trump's,
Alexander from MSNBC,
and Trump's response is, well, you're not.
I'm not a fan of yours
either. So it's like, there's a way that we should be able to have some level of decorum.
I would love to be one of those reporters in the gaggle to just be like,
what would you do?
I would basically, when he would say that to me, go, I'm here to do a job. I'm zero fan of yours.
Exactly.
And by the way, you don't have to be a fan of mine. I'm just here to do my job. Like, it's not supposed to be. By the way, a good journalist, I've always said this to any reporter that's worked for me, if every publicist in town and every subject of your story loves you still, you're not doing your job as a journalist. Okay? Then you're not doing your job.
Exactly.
We are here, when you're in journalism, you're here to tell the facts and the truth. But both sides. Always present both sides.
Exactly.
Right.
You could be a liberal or a conservative, and you can still report the news in an objective fashion if you are legitimately telling both sides of the story. It's that simple.
And it's okay to get people angry at you as a reporter when you ask tough questions. I've had people walk out of get rid of their microphone and step out and walk out of interviews. And that's just the way it is. So, I think that, if you are doing your job, but at the end of the day, you got to know who you're dealing with. By now they know who they're dealing with, and it's like, let's just, try to get some information that's relevant to the American public and things that really matter in this country.
Wonderful. I think that we're out of time because we ran over with that heated conversation.
Well, hey.
So,
we weren't heated, though. It was kind of...
It was
No,
good.
I'm sorry. With that lively debate. That lively debate. Alina, can you tell everybody where they can find you at the Hollywood Press?
Absolutely. My pleasure. Okay, you guys can watch us on AfterBuzz TV, YouTube. You can also subscribe on MTHP on Apple Podcasts. Rate us. Give us those good reviews. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Meet the Hollywood Press and on Twitter at Meet the HWD Press.
I want to thank you, Bianca, and thank you, Hunter. This has been a great time.
Anytime.
Smart people, smart discussion.
We love so much fun.
We love it being here.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you next Sunday.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.